there was this guy who invented the game of chess, and the king was so excited about the game and became a addicted player that he told the inventor, "You can ask for anything you want, and it'll be yours." And the inventor of the game of chess says that, I just want you to put 1 grain of rice on the first square of the chessboard, and then put 2 grains of rice on the second square, and then keep doubling the grains of rice until you get to the 64th square, and that's all I want. And that emperor clearly was not smart enough to be employed by Google, and he was mathematically challenged, so he basically got upset with this inventor. "I wanted to give you all these things, and this is all you want, a bunch of rice." So the guy says, "Yeah, that's all I want." So he tells his treasurer, measure out the rice for him and get him out of my court. And after a week, when the treasurer was still not done, he asked him what the problem was. He said, "Well, it took me a while to run the calculation, but we don't have the rice." In fact, he said that there's not enough rice in the kingdom or even on the planet to fulfill the request. And the amount of rice, it becomes, 2 to the 64 minus 1, which is a long Google-ish kind of number. In today's dollars, it's about 300 trillion. And I think that is just about global GDP. Actually, not global GDP, but global wealth. So if you took the wealth of every man, woman, and child on the planet, that would have brought equal to the 2 to the 64 minus 1 grains of rice. And so that's the power of compounding, right? It grows dramatically. And when I heard about Buffett for the first time in '94, he had been compounding for about 44 years at the time, from about 1950 to '94. And when I looked at the track record, it dawned on me that he was moving basically to the next square in less than 3 years. He had averaged for the first 44 years about 31% a year. So if you compound at 26% a year, then your money doubles every 3 years. And of course, if you're doing 31%, then you're going even faster. And so basically, that is at the essence of the genius of Buffett and Munger, is they absolutely understand the power of compounding, and they basically have gone at it with this very long runway and such. And of course, if you look at it from 1950 to 2014, it is no wonder that Buffett ends up as the richest guy on the planet, because if you keep compounding, that's what ends up happening. And so that's the one of the important takeaways I took from the learnings from Buffett and Munger, is that you don't really need to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. If you can double your money every 3 years, then a few doubles starts adding some significant numbers. I mean, if you start at $1 million in 30 years, it becomes $1 billion. If you start with 10,000, it becomes 10 million. It's just incredible in terms of what happens. And the doubling every 3 years, my way of thinking of that was that if you buy a stock at less than half of what it's worth, and you just sit on it, and in 2 or 3 years it gets to being what it's worth, lo and behold, you'll have your 20-30% annualized, and sometimes you might get it in a year, and sometimes you might have mistakes, and the blended result of all of that ends up being where it is. And so I think compounding is a very powerful notion, very much in sync with the whole Dhando framework.